Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you guys are doing great. I am well, everything is good. And I just wanted to come and teach you guys how I made my journal. Let me show you the journal I'm talking about for those of you who don't know. I like, let me see where I put that other journal at. Hold on, give me a second. Okay, so I used to make these traveler's journals. And it was just paper with it was laminated, but after a while they would come apart a little bit, and that kind of annoyed me because I wanted to look pretty all the time. So you would put a planner in it if you wanted to. You would have, I close these off because some of them have personal information. You would I had a place for passwords and a folder, and I had another folder around there somewhere. I don't know what happened to it. Anyway, but again, this annoyed me. So I wanted to make a hardcover one, and I did. This is and it's going to be a gift, but this is what I came up with. Let me show. I put pictures on it. I'm sure that most of you have seen it already. But this is her. Look how pretty. Okay. And I just thought that it might hold up better than the laminated ones. So I put the cover protectors, and I put bookmarks because this is a book theme one, obviously. And we have places to draw. We have some folders, which in the pictures I took, they weren't complete. I finished them off because unfortunately, like Michael's paper is really thin now, so I like to double it up to make it thicker. And then I cut up the inserts and made little things that, people could use. I made a paper clip with a bow. I made the pen holder. That was interesting. Took me like 4 tries. And then a notebook. Now, this is the only part that I didn't like. I used one of the Dollar Tree notebooks, and then I covered it, which I'm not crazy about that idea. I may end up taking it apart and using my my thermal cinch to make this a notebook, because I messed up the cover and I ended up adding more paper just to cover what I messed up. But that's it for now. And then the back. So I put pockets to hold bookmarks. I got to finish putting stuff on that. But that's basically it. And then you got a pen to jot down your notes. And then it's held together by the elastic. And I put beads on there to decorate it. So that was it. And then, of course, every gift needs a pretty box. So we made a box. And then I received a message asking how I made it, so I figured I'd come back and show you guys. I was going to do a live, but there's a lot of people on, and I don't want to step on anybody's toes, so I'll just record it. It's no big deal. Okay, so we're going to start off with 2 pieces of card. Now, this was actually from a box. I just peeled off the kind of laminated paper that I had on it because I didn't feel it would glue right. And then I cut them at, I'll let you know right now, 7, let's see, hold on. It's 5 1/4 by 7 1/4. And then, that's two pieces of that. And then I cut a strip, of course, is 7 1/4 by 1 1/2. So that's going to be our center. Now, I use this little gadget to get my papers all even. So it's, I have a nice even border. But if you didn't have that, you can just use a ruler and maybe just measure out, let's see, 1 inch or maybe 3/4 of an inch. Just make a mark and then just make a line across. Now, I use this paper that's 11 by 17. If you didn't have anything that big, you can use either two 8 by 10s or two 12 by 12s and just glue them together. And I brought out two cards just to give an example. So let's say this is my center. I would leave enough that'll wrap around the center, like let's say about there. And then I would glue those together and just, you know, add my sides. Okay, so that's just the difference in which paper you have. But I'm going to use the 11 by 17, so let me get this out the way for now. And I'm going to use this tool here. I have some stuff stuck on it. I don't even know what that is. Okay, so what I'm going to do is then I'm going to place this in a corner. And then I will glue my first piece on there and let's just butt it against that, okay? So let's do that. And I want to see what side is better. So I'm going to glue it this way. So let's use the glue, and I'm using the tonic one because I just don't want to waste my art glitter glue on this, because it's going to use up a lot of glue. So let's do that. And I'm going to hold this down while I glue that on. Now, this is probably the only time I'll use like a brayer, and it's because I really want to press that into place. So I'm just going to do this for a little bit to make sure everything sticks. And I can move that now. And just let it hold there for a second before you move on. So you see the glue is spreading out, which is fine. Just scoop that up. Okay. Now, we're going to bring in our 1.5" piece, and we need to leave a little gap in between because this is pretty thick, so you want to make sure that when it folds, it's not folding on each other because it'll break. If you don't have anything like this, then leave like a 1/4 inch gap in between each piece and you should be fine. But you can get these really cheap in Amazon, or a lot of people have gotten them at Ollie's for like $1. My Ollie's is so far. Okay. So let's glue this piece. So let's do that. Okay. And I'm going to hold that, and I'm going to use the brayer again. Just want to like squeeze that glue so it gets into all the crevices. My chair is squeaking. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to move this over here. And we're going to glue this one right next to it. Okay? So, let's get that glue on. Okay. Let's get that down and also get that brayer. Okay, I'm gonna let this set for a little bit before I move on because I don't want to shift anything out of the way. So I'll be right back. Okay, so it is dry and I was just measuring to see if my book fits. Okay. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take a pencil and I'm just going to make my line over here. I'm going to flip this over and finish that line down. And you can do this with just your ruler if you want, but I just want to make sure all of this matches. Let's do this. And then I could finish off with the ruler. And then we can cut on those lines. You can use your guillotine. See, for some reason that didn't line up. Okay, let me see what happened here. It's okay. I'm just gonna do this. It doesn't have to be perfect. All right, let's trim this down. Let's do this side first. Move it a little bit more if you want. Just to get on that line. And then it's not going to fit this way, so I'm just going to bring in a scissor and I'm going to trim it by hand. Let's see where my scissor is. And I'm just going to cut this as close to the line as possible. Okay. Now we're going to bring this piece back in. And what we're going to do is that we're going to push this into the corner. And I'm going to just draw it with a pencil. You can cut this with an X-Acto knife. But I'm just going to cut it by hand. Let's get this side done. And then this side. Okay. And we can go ahead and trim that. Now this left like a 1/4 inch. So if you're going to do this with a ruler, just leave like a 1/4 inch there. And then you're going to come back and you're just going to snip like a little triangle there. So you're going to do something like that, okay? So again, just a 1/4 inch from the edge and then do that little snip. So we're going to go here. If it doesn't come out perfect, don't even freak out, because I mean, all of this is going to be covered anyway. So let's snip here and then here. And let's do it here. And there. Okay. Now you're going to bring in your score tool. Let me get my score tool. I'll be right back. Okay. So now I'm going to come in with our score tool and I'm just going to kind of push all that. Just kind of breaking those fibers so they bend okay. And I'm going to go closer here. And I'm going to kind of like train the paper a little bit so it doesn't crack. So we're going to do this. bring that up. Let's do the same thing here. Sorry about that. That's my dog choking. 1 second. Okay, so I'm gonna now bring in this little piece. And this is the same way I do my albums. I'm just gonna bring this to, let's see, 7 1/4. 7 1/4. Yep, okay. And we're just gonna glue that into the middle. And then we're gonna let it dry. So I'm gonna get that done and I'll be back. Okay, so that's done. And now we can go ahead and glue this into place. So you're gonna like keep pushing this down. And then you can bring in your bone folder and just, you know, press it a little more just to shape things right. So let's add our glue. And you could either put the glue on the whole thing, or you can just glue half of it and then glue the other half. That way you can hold it down better. And I use my bone folder to help me. So it'll just press there. Give it a second. And then move on. You might need to put more glue in spots. That's fine. You can always come back and add. Let's do that. And now we can add glue here. Let's go ahead and add plenty. Be generous. Okay, now let's go and glue this side. I am hoping that I recorded this part because it was supposed to be paused on this side, but I think I did the opposite. Okay. Okay, let's hold that down. See, we have to add a little more glue. Okay, and now we can finish this off. Let's get that done. And I'm just gonna hold it in place. Okay. Got glue everywhere. All right, so we have that so far. Okay, flip it over. And you can actually start training this a little bit before you put anything else down. You may have to come in and kind of score all this again. Just be careful on this line. I've gotten this far and then I've broken it, so I try to be careful. And then you can just lift that up a tad bit. Go slow, no rush. And just flip it around, make sure it's not breaking. And bring it closer together. And it's keeping good shape, which is excellent. And there we go. So we have our cover. Now we're going to need 2 pieces of cardstock for the inside. That's a little less than, I would say, maybe 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch smaller. So if this was 5 1/4, maybe 5 by 7, or a little bit bigger than 5 by 7. So I'm going to cut those out and I'll be right back. Okay. So now we can go ahead and glue these guys in. So we're going to glue that here. And now we're just going to press this down, get your brayer. Okay. Okay, let's turn it this way. And let's glue the other piece. Okay, let's get our brayer. Okay. All right, so we're gonna let that dry, and I'm gonna cut out some of our panels. So we're going to cut them 7 1/4 by 5 1/4, and if we need to trim it a little bit, we can. So I'm gonna choose the papers that we're gonna use, or we could layer them. Let's see. We just got to figure out what we want for our cover. I'm thinking this one. I think it's pretty. And also because I have the pink elastic. It's the only color I have. So I think we're going to have to use pink in the front regardless. And I use this for my book cover. So we don't want to use that. So I think this is the way to go. Let's see. And then for the inside, maybe we can use the plaid. So maybe these would be our 2 colors. And then we can find another color for the outside. But we'll worry about that in a minute. So. We start off with our cover, and we're going to cut this at maybe a little bit less than 7 1/4. Maybe there. And then about there. Okay, just about there. Let's see. Bring that over. And you're going to see how fast it starts coming together. mean, I don't think we need another. If we add too many layers, then we won't be able to put our edge protectors. So maybe we'll just glue this down. Yeah, let's just do that. Okay, because we could have put gold underneath it too, but sometimes less is more. Okay, let's see. Okay. Look how easy that comes together. This is going to be very pretty. Okay. Let's glue that one there. And we have that. Now we need to use something for the center, and I think I'm going to use this plaid. Come on. Yeah, I think that'll look cute. Okay. All right, so that's 1.5 inches. So I'm going to cut it at 1.5 inches, and then if we need to trim it, we could do that. Okay. And then we're going to cut it at a little bit less than 7 1/4. And then we can just glue that right in the center. Glue that there. And then when you close it, you'll have something like that. Okay, cute. All right, now I'll cut the panels for the inside and I'll be right back. Okay, so let's glue these down, glue them here. All right. Okay, let's do that. Okay. Want to make sure our pumpkins are facing the right way. Okay. And let's glue this down. I gotta try to move it just a little bit. Okay. And now I'm going to bring my hole puncher so we can punch a hole right there. And then we're going to need 3 holes on the bottom part. Okay. All right. Let that finish gluing well because I don't want it to move. And I just saw it move a little bit, so it's not ready to be played with yet. All right. I'll be back. Okay, so while that sets up, we can go ahead and add our corner pieces. And we'll see which color goes best. I was thinking this color. The rose gold. I mean, the paper is, there's some of them with gold in it, but I don't think it makes a difference. I think we're just going to go ahead and go with the rose gold. Let's see. Okay. We need to open these up a little bit. You can get a little pack of these on Amazon for really cheap. And let's open that up a little more. And if you only had the silver ones and you wanted to change the color, use a Sharpie. But then let it dry. Okay. See, yeah, that fits well. And we're gonna squeeze and tighten. Squeeze and tighten. Look how pretty that looks. Okay, let's get another one. So this is basically the same way you would do an album, except you would do the piece in the center to hold the pages. So let's squeeze that. Maybe open this a little more and try to make it fit. So I mean, if you have like old packaging that has a nice thick cardboard, then you can use that. It's actually chipboard, right? Sorry, I can't think and squeeze at the same time. Okay. All right. And let's open this one up. Let's see. Yep, we got it right. Yay. Squeeze and push. All right, just about there. That's good. And one more, we can put this away. Let's open this up. Yay, okay. Okay, there we go. All All right, so we have that going on. And you make sure that you look and see where your pumpkins are going, right? They're going the right way, so this will be your front. Okay, let's get our hole puncher. Oops, sorry about that. And we're gonna just try to figure out kind of the center of this. You can use a ruler if you want. So let's say you just more or less figure out the center of your paper. So I'm gonna look at it this way and just eyeball about the center. And then see where we at. We're going to use the bigger hole. Let me see. Just about there. Let's go for it. We got that. And it's a little bit off. That's why you should measure. But it's not that serious. All right. We're going to use a brad. I mean, not a brad, an eyelet. My brain isn't working today. And I'm going to push this into place. Okay. See? Okay. Let's get that part there. And let's push. And we are good to go. Okay. Beautiful. All right. We're going to take our elastic and we're going to do a more or less, in this case, a little bit more is better, right? And I'm going to just tie it off more or less right here. You can tighten it if you need to. And that's what it would look like. I wanted it a little bit lower because I want to put something here, and if you put your elastic too high up, then you won't be able to add any kind of decoration to the top of it. So all right, that's what we have so far. For our inside, you need you need to punch 3 holes, right? So let me see. So I'm just going to bring this one to the center. And I guess more or less right here would be one. There would be another. And right there. Let's line that up. that's right there. You can do all the math you want and get these right where you need them, but you know, it's not that serious. That's more or less. Okay. Now we're going to get our other hole puncher that I can have a little more control over, and I'm going to use a smaller hole this time. Let's see. That's going to be 1/8 of an inch. Okay, let's see. This side will start first. And I'm gonna like measure the hole, and I'm gonna go a little bit above it. Let's do that one. Take that out. Let's go ahead and punch that one. And let's flip it over and do the same thing. Okay, so you have to start at the center one and bring it over. Then bring it all the way down. I was just a little bit confused there for a second. Bring that up. You're gonna bring this down. So you have to push this in to the same hole, which is kind of hard. Okay, I'm gonna need to bring something in to help me. There we go. Let's loop it in through the other one. And through here. So when you're done, you're gonna have 4 different places you can add books or folders. All right, let's push that through. And we're gonna cut that down. Which I cut too much, but it's okay. All right, let's pull that. We need to make these a little tighter. So, all right, that's pretty good. And now I could tie this. And I'm going to tie it more or less where that other knot is. And we're going to tighten that up. And then you can trim it. Okay, so we have that. Now, I already have my notebook done, so we could try our notebook in here. And let's put that into place. And then when you close it, look how pretty. Okay. All right. Now we can make some folders. Let me get my paper. I'll be right back. Okay, so we're going to use this pattern for our folder. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to score it at 6 inches. At 11 inches. And at 1 inch. Then I'm going to score it at 7 inches. And let's see, 1, 2, that's 7, 1, 2, 3, 10 inches. So our pocket is like 3 inches deep. Okay, I'm not gonna cut this off. I'm actually gonna use this part to give our envelope a little more strength. So let's burnish that. Crease everything well. And let's fold that in half. I was going to use this other paper that had gold in it, but it was very flimsy. This one feels a little more sturdy. And now we're going to cut off this side right to the crease and then angle it and trim it. So we have something like that. And we're going to do the same thing to the other side. Try to stay on that line. And again, we're going to trim that. Let's fold this together so I can know that it has to fold that way. All right. And we can do it again to this side. And I'm gonna actually glue this before I cut. All right. Okay. We're gonna fold that together. And I'm actually gonna cut so we can have 2 separate pockets. And I'm gonna curve this a little bit. Okay. So we have something like that. Okay. Now we can come over here and you can line this now if you want, or you can wait until later. And just try to get it almost at the center, and then you can just angle this just a little bit, as well as over here. So now we can put our glue here. Try not to go too far close to the edge. You don't want it to end up sealing your folder. Then you won't be able to put anything in it. Okay, let's do that. And you can either, I think I'll glue it flat like that. Give it a little more strength on the corner. Okay. And I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side, and I'll be right back. Okay, so it dried and I put our little layer inside, which was just paper folded in half and glued in place. Okay, so we have that. And I'll go ahead and make another folder. And then we can make a cover for our planner. Since that planner I had in that other journal was never used, I just pulled it out and I'm going to use the same one because I don't want to waste it. Okay. So this is going to be the cover for our little journal. And of course I want to layer it. So let me get out my big cutting board. Okay. Let's see. We could cut them together. And we're going to cut them this way. And make sure they line up. And I'm going to cut this at a little less than 7 1/4, maybe 7 1/8. Okay. That's the side. And then this is 5 inches, so it's going to be a little bigger. So maybe 10 1/4, and then we could trim it down if we need to. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these down first. Match that up. Okay. Press that down. And then to score it, I'm just going to fold it in half. And let's do that. Okay, and then this will go right in here. Isn't that cute? I love the way that looks. Okay. Let me get some staples, and I'm just gonna feed the staples right through that hole. Give me a second. Okay, so we have them stapled, and we can add this to our book. Oops. Okay, so far we have that. We're missing one more folder, and let me see what paper I'm going to use for that one. Let's see. Maybe I'll just use the pumpkins again. It's such a pretty paper. No, because then when you flip it, you're not going to be able to see the pumpkins. So we'll use this one instead. It's all from the same pack anyway. Right, so we're going to do the same thing we did with the other folder. And let me see which side is up. So we're going to score it at 6 inches, 1 inch, and at 11. Oops. And we're going to flip it over. I believe we went a little bit over 7. Did we? Let's do it. No, I think we did it at 7 inches. Yep. And at 10. Oops. Okay. So we're gonna do everything all over again. We're gonna make sure we crease everything. And I'll glue it and I'll be right back. Okay, so the other folder is made, and I left that one closed up so you can see what that looks like. And we're gonna put that folder in here. And this is what it looks like without all the decoration, right? Because now we'll start adding all different kind of bits and pieces, and we end up with something that looks like this. Okay, this one is a little bit higher because I was using a bigger notebook, but still equally as cute. So by the time we're done filling everything in, this will expand. We're gonna get a pen holder. We're gonna get them a bunch of ephemera to put inside, a lot of bookmarks and tags and stuff, and then a paper clip. We're gonna attach a tassel and put some nice beads to decorate the front. So by the time it's all done, it'll be a nice full book. That's my project for today. I hope you guys try making one. They're super fun to make, and especially when you don't have to think about the cardstock. So I would use a thicker cardstock and maybe something that's double-sided, so it's easier to make your folders and whatnot. But all in all, I'm pleased. I'm using up these papers, and hopefully you will too. I'll talk to you guys real soon. Bye.